Welcome to SilverC Review. This podcast will have an introduction, a movie review, a movie recommendation, jokes and quotes, and then an Inside the Introvert section. So feel free to jump around, watch what you want, listen to what you want. All the times are listed in the description down below. The last video I did, I mentioned a movie, or I was going to say a movie that I hadn't put down in my notes, and then I completely forgot. Man, there's like a million gnats. Hopefully you can't see those. And the movie's called The Hurricane Heist, and it was a stupid movie. I knew it was going to be stupid going in. Probably give it a 2 out of 10. It's not one of those that I would say I want my time back because I knew it was going to be bad, but I wouldn't recommend watching it. And just not very well produced, and it's not as bad as Sharknado, but it's kind of in that zone. Another movie I watched, 10x10 or 10x10. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. And the other one, I got to watch a whole lot recently. Winchester. I'm giving that one a 4 out of 10. It was kind of a run-of-the-mill scary story, nothing really all that new or innovative, and lots of jump scares and darkness and stuff like that, so not too bad. I would say Winchester is probably worth a watch, maybe borderline, maybe not. If you like scary movies or movies that are attempting to be scary and jump scares, then you probably like Winchester. There was a story I heard a while back. I just wanted to put this in here instead of like in the quote section, and I'm pretty sure it was on a TED Talk, and it says, good or bad, hard to say. And it talks about this guy that his horse gets loose, and all his neighbors are like, oh, I'm so sorry, that's terrible, and I can't believe that this happened to you. And he said, good or bad, hard to say. Well, his horse returns, and it's got 6 wild horses with him, and he's able to capture the wild horses and tame them and everything, so they become his. And his neighbors say, oh man, I can't believe your luck, that's amazing, I'm so glad for you. And he said, well, good or bad, hard to say. And his son is trying to ride one of the horses, and it ends up kicking him off, and he breaks his leg. And the people, his neighbors, are like, I can't believe this, and I'm so sorry this happened to you. And he said, good or bad, hard to say. And then the draft comes around for military, and they come to the house to get his son, and his son's got a broken leg, so he can't be drafted. And his neighbors said, man, that's incredible luck that he didn't have to go to war and possibly die and all that stuff. And his father just says, good or bad, hard to say. And recently, I've been saying that a lot. It's like, it's impossible to see the future. So a lot of times when something happens, I mean, if something overly good or overly bad happens, but even then, you never truly know how it's going to affect you. So good or bad, it's hard to say. And a lot of times, I'm not saying if something good happens, you say that to bring things down, but if something not so good happens, then it's hard to say if it's actually going to be a bad thing or if it's going to lead to something else. So I just thought that was a cool story, and keep that in mind. When something happens, good or bad, it's hard to say. You never know what the future holds. Alright, we're going to go on to the movie review. Hopefully this isn't out of the frame. This is going to be Solo, a Star Wars story. Giving this one a 7 out of 10. There is definitely going to be spoilers in this one, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it. Highly recommend watching it, of course, as with any Star Wars movie. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but not big enough to know all the lore. Like, I don't research all the background information. I just watch the movies, and even then, I haven't watched the first 6 or whatever in a long time. So, like, I'm kind of like that a lot of things in life. I really like them, but not enough to go to the extreme. So, I really like Star Wars, but I'm not like a enthusiast of Star Wars. But anyways, as a disclaimer, I was kind of in and out of sleep throughout some of the dialogue in this movie. I'm kind of not getting a lot of restful sleep right now, and I was kind of laying down while watching this, and Yeah, some of the dialogue and some of the scenes are pretty slow, and I would kind of go in and out of sleep, so I'm not able to comment on a whole lot of the dialogue in this movie, and I'm probably not going to comment on any storyline issues or anything because I wasn't up to par with the exact storyline that was going through and like who was doing what and all that stuff. So just a disclaimer. Um, it felt like when this movie started off that it was like a current day city, and that was really cool for being a Star Wars setting and for being this time in the Star Wars universe. I thought that was really neat. Like, it just felt like, I mean, he had a hover car, but it just felt like driving down some city, like big city or something, with the orange lights and everything he was driving under. So that was pretty cool. Neat way to start it off. Um, it's all of Han Solo's encounters kind of feel like even his present day encounters. Like, he has double crossed someone and they finally catch up to him, and he's like, "Oh, I was just coming to see you," and they have to capture him, and he's got to figure his way out. And I mean, that's how his first encounter is, and that's how all of his encounters seem to be. So that was pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting stormtroopers in this movie. I guess I didn't know exactly when this movie was happening, which, to be fair, the Star Wars universe is kind of similar to the X-Men universe, where they're jumping around so much, it's really, really hard, unless you're a dedicated fan, to figure out where this was. And even if you're a dedicated fan, you have to do like, like to set up the Star Wars universe, they use like I think it's BBY or something, like before the Battle of Yavin or something. And I think that's the Death Star battle. But they have to like pinpoint a time and then say this was 12 years after, or this was 12 years before, or something like that. So even that just blows me away, that you have to try to figure all this out, to figure out what's going on. And it's kind of like the X-Men universe. And honestly, the Marvel universe, it's not jumping around, but there's so much they incorporate from each movie that you almost need to go back and rewatch if you haven't seen the other movies in a couple years, to kind of to be able to see all those little things that they incorporate. So they're very big universes, and it's hard to keep it all straight. But I looked it up, and the order it goes in is Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Solo, a Star Wars movie, Rogue One, Star Wars, I think New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. So if you were going to watch the movies in chronological order for the universe, that's the order that they would have to be watched in. So it's pretty complicated, but and even then, it's still, unless you can really understand the universe, I feel like it takes away a little bit from the movie. Or I feel like the movie would be better if you really understood what all was going on. But the war scene was a little strange. Like, it felt more like a real life war than a Star Wars war. And I mean, I know they were using blasters and stuff, but from other big battles in the Star Wars universe, it just didn't it didn't feel like a Star Wars battle to me. It wasn't necessarily bad, it was just weird. Definitely had a very awesome Chewbacca reveal, and the way they meet for the first time, that was really cool. And I don't know, has Han Solo ever spoken Wookiee in any of the other movies? Because he literally speaks it in this movie. Like, I know in the other movies, Chewie's able to understand him, and he's able to understand Chewie, but I don't remember him actually making the sounds and stuff like that. And I'm not good at making Wookiee sounds, obviously, but I don't know. That was kind of interesting how he was able to actually speak his language. I felt like, and like I kind of said, if I knew more lore about Star Wars, I feel like this would be a better movie, because I feel like a lot of times they were doing stuff that really fit in with the Star Wars universe, but since I don't know a whole lot about it, I'm just there for the movie. A lot of the dialogue and stuff was boring and felt slow and stuff like that, but I think for the dedicated Star Wars fans, they'll like this movie a whole lot more. The train action scene was pretty fun and interesting to watch. The bar scene was one that was very slow, lots of talking, and just I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm tired, maybe I need to go back and watch it again to appreciate it more, but I don't really know a whole lot about the lore, so I don't know if that'll even matter. Lando is very awesome. I like Donald Glover, is that who plays him, and I like the young Lando, and he's very well played, and the interaction between him and Han Solo. The music is great, very Star Wars-y score. I mean, the previous Star Wars movies have had great music, and this one is no exception. Chewie still, or I guess, I wonder when the other movie was. Yeah, it was later movies, so I'm pretty sure Chewie was the one that was losing at the chess game, the chess type game with the monsters. It was probably to R2-D2 when he freaks out and tries to throw the board. And in this movie, of course, he loses and tries to swipe them off, and they're just holograms. So it was kind of interesting how he doesn't learn any more information about that. This water is so nice. I just want to like sit here and swish my hands around in the water. It's so nice and cool. I'm actually in the shade. Last two videos have been in the sun, and man, it was hot. Which I discussed, I don't mind the heat nearly as bad, but it really dehydrates you and makes you sweat, which dehydrates you, duh. Oh, I guess all the side stories need a funny droid to assist them. I mean, the Rogue One had that really funny droid, and then this one kind of had a comical droid that people were really connected to. And I have to say, saying the word droid is hard for me because I played World of Warcraft for a long time, and in that one there's a class called a druid, and it's the saying the difference between the two is very difficult for me. So that's why I always have trouble saying droid. I lost my place. The prisoner routine works every time, so they definitely did that in this movie, and it essentially worked. The shootout scene was very awesome and well choreographed. Liked it. The big creature that he had to go against, so they got the octopus type creature that got sucked into the black hole. That reminded me a lot of the underwater creature that when they're on the water world of wherever, what's his name? Oh my goodness. The dude everyone hates. Can't think of his name. Jar Jar Binks. Whatever his homeworld is, when they're in the little ship and it's got that big creature chasing them. That's kind of what that thing reminded me of. It was an excellent Kessel run. Now we know how he did the run that he's always been talking about that's been referenced a million times. The whole movie, which I've kind of referenced, felt very true to Han Solo. Like, the way he talked and the way he interacted with people, and it just, I feel like they chose a good actor to portray him, and they did portray him very well as a young Han Solo. Like, you could see where and why he does all the stuff that he does as an adult, and that was really cool. And I'll say that here in a minute. The gun he gets, I'm pretty sure that's the classic gun he always uses. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the movies, but it looked very similar to the gun he always has. So I guess we know now where he got his gun from, if that is the one that he always keeps. Darth Maul being in this movie was pretty cool. I think I read online that he survives being cut in half, and that's how he's in this movie. I can't remember, yeah, because it said, yeah, I'm pretty sure that movie happened before this one. So there was some way, I guess they stitched him back together, but he's in this movie, so that was kind of interesting, and it's always neat. I guess kind of like in Rogue One, we get to see Leia and Darth Vader and stuff. I've got ants crawling all over my board. I'm glad they're on that and not on me. They look like fire ants. But anyways, that was cool, being able to see Darth Maul. And definitely had an incredible ending, the way he gets the Millennium Falcon and the way he pulls one over on Lando. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the actor signed up for 3 of these movies, so I guess they're going to do 3 of them, which is, it's interesting because they've essentially already told us everything about Han Solo's introduction. So I don't know if they're just going to try to make movies that not necessarily tells his backstory, but just kind of runs with it, I guess, and just kind of plays on his story. Like, not so much they're making them to reveal more about him, they're just making them to show awesome adventures that he was in. So I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe he didn't sign up, but I thought it said somewhere that he signed up for 3 of these movies. That's going to be it for the movie review of Solo, giving it a 7 out of 10. We're going to go on to the movie recommendation. This one's going to be Arachnophobia. And my previous video, I managed to coax a spider onto the screen, so that would have been really cool if I could have done it at the same time I was doing the movie recommendation. But this one's 1990, and I'm surprised I don't hear more about this movie. I think some people actually don't like it, and it's very good, it's very creepy. I guess if you literally have arachnophobia, you probably don't want to watch it. I mean, I don't like spiders. Like snakes, I know the deadly ones, and I know the ones that that aren't, well, not necessarily deadly. Like, we have snakes around here that could kill you, but it's very, very rare that that it happens. But you still want to be anywhere now around them. Like rattlesnakes, like they can kill you, but at the same time, your chances of surviving, of getting to a hospital and everything, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere, are pretty high. And so if it's like a little tiny snake that I know can't bite me or won't bite me, I can pick it up. But spiders, I know the deadly spiders, and same thing with the snakes, the ones that are supposed to be deadly. And but at the same time, I feel like any spider can bite and it can really hurt. And like, it may not have a real bad reaction, but it's still gonna hurt, kind of like a wasp sting or something. So I kind of stay away from spiders. I'm not scared of them, but I don't. I treat them with more distance than other things. But anyways, the description for this one is: after a nature photographer dies on assignment in Venezuela, a venomous spider hitches a ride on the coffin to a hometown in Roooarrgh, I can't say that word, California, where arachnophobe Dr. Ross Jennings has just moved with his wife and young son. As town residents start turning up dead, Jennings begins to suspect spiders and must face his fears as he and no-nonsense exterminator Delbert fight to stop a deadly infestation. And they definitely go out of their way to make this movie creepy with the spiders and everything, but it's a good overall movie, so I definitely recommend watching it. So, we're going to go on to the jokes and quotes, and I just dropped my phone in the water. Luckily, they make these phones fairly nice. Okay. I don't know if my phone is supposed to be waterproof, but it seems like all the new phones nowadays are very water resistant. I'm sure it'll be fine. People say they should stop making pennies, but I guess that doesn't make sense. Someone asked why I tell dad jokes, and I said because I like making him laugh. Alright. It's ironic that I dropped my phone in the water, because I barely ever do anything like that. Like, the only time I've dropped a phone and like busted it is when I was rock climbing at like a man-made rock climbing station, and I should have taken my phone out of my pocket, but I was climbing, it went out, so I was completely upside down trying to get up on top of something, and I guess my phone fell out, and I didn't even realize until I got back down on the ground. They said they were yelling at me, and I was so focused. When you're upside down trying to get up on top of something, has 100% of your focus right there. Anyways, quotes: be stubborn about your goals, but flexible about your methods. And this one's really good because just because something comes up that is a roadblock for you doesn't mean you should just give up on your goal and just say, well, it's not going to be possible. Like, just find a different method to achieve your goal. And, I mean, there's a million ways to do something, and certain ones aren't necessarily right or better than other ways. So just, like I've said, never stop. Just keep going and keep trying to figure out a way to achieve your goals. Time decides who you meet in life, your heart decides who you want in your life, and your behavior decides who stays in your life. I really like this one because, I mean, it's true that the more time, the older you get, the more opportunity and more experiences you have to meet people. So that's going to kind of decide who's introduced to you in your life. And then I'm kind of, it's annoying because everyone refers to the heart, and I have to say it for this quote, but your heart literally just pumps blood. Like, it doesn't handle emotion or anything like that. That's all your brain. So, and I mean, actually your gut does have, I think, the second most nerve endings or something. Your gut can actually deal with emotion. They say trust your gut. That actually is a legitimate thing, but your heart literally just pumps blood. Like, there's nothing else. When someone says you're brokenhearted because of a relationship ending or something, like, it's not, I know it's just a way to refer to it, but it's not, it really annoys me because I feel like people actually believe that their heart somehow controls emotion. But anyways, your emotion and your wants and desires, that decides who you want in your life. Not necessarily who gets to stay in your life, but that just tells you who you want to keep in your life. And then your behavior, how you act, determines who's going to stay in your life. If you're not going to go out of your way to make sacrifices for people and show that you care, they're not going to stay in your life. So it really determines, you can really tell, I guess, you can want someone in your life, but if you don't treat them well, they're not going to stay there. So you still have to put the time in and treat them the best you can, or otherwise don't be surprised if they don't want to be in your life anymore, even if you want them there. So that's going to be it for that quote. We're going on to Inside the Introvert. I kind of have this running theory that people are nicer to me than they are to other people. It's really weird, and I guess it's not a bad thing, but it seems like people don't want to hurt me or something, and I'm not a overly sensitive person. I'm not, I take criticism very well. It's very hard to offend me. I actually like conversations about topics that most consider off limits. I don't know, it's weird, but all throughout my life, I'll see how someone treats me and then see how they treat someone else, and it seems like just the interaction between other people with how they treat me, it's always they treat me nicer, and it's just weird. So I kind of have this running theory that everyone acts differently around me than they do around everyone else, which, I mean, I know everyone acts differently to different people, but it just seems odd. I also have a mean-looking face, so I know strangers usually don't try to mess with me very much, but I don't know, it's weird. Motivating people on my softball team, like, I'm good at cheering and clapping when someone makes, like, a really excellent play or something, but when I'm out in the field, I act sarcastic with the people I know can handle it, but just overall cheering, or when someone goes up to bat, like, yeah, you can do this, come on, you got this. I don't know, I'm not good at doing that, and everyone else on the team is cheering and stuff, and I'm usually just kind of sitting there. Like, if they make a close call or they make a good hit, I'm like, yeah, amazing hit, come on. But just when they're going up to bat, or they're out in the field, like, cheering them on to catch the ball or throw it in or something, or when they just make an average stop or something, I can be like, hey, that was a good stop, but I don't know, I'm not a very good cheerleader for my team, so I hope my other teammates don't mind that too much, as I just sit there and am quiet most of the time. I had to tell the janitor the other day that the bag of trash that she drug out was spilling liquid almost the entire way, and I struggled with this because I didn't want to tell her how to do her job. At the same time, I didn't want someone to slip on the liquid, and if I had noticed it, I would have felt bad because I could have told someone, because I'm kind of the person that notice everything around me, and that's part of what makes me introverted, is I take in so much information that I can get overwhelmed very easily. So in an environment that's highly stimulated with people talking and sounds and things like that, it's easy for me to get overwhelmed because I'm taking in all that information. And that's why I don't talk a lot in environments like that, is because I don't have time to talk and register my thoughts. There's too much information coming in. And so anyways, I told her, and ideally, I wanted to just clean it up myself. Like, I could just take in some paper towels and follow the trail out and clean it up. But if I did that, everyone would have been looking at me and watching me and be like, why in the world is he cleaning up the mess? And, like, if I was working at Walgreens and it was like a janitor or something, I would just clean it up. But here it would have been weird, so I ended up just telling her. And it actually did happen again. I was like, I'm not, like, a few weeks later, and I was like, I'm not going to tell her again. I'm just going to let it go. But it wasn't nearly as bad the second time. But it was definitely a introverted moment. There's like a fly that's been in the exact same position on my paper. Oh. He's being attacked by another fly right when I said something. The last one is I have pictures hanging up in my cube. Being a freelance photographer, I have lots of 8x10s hanging up, and I like when people get to see them and they come in like, ooh, this is so cool. But I never know what to say. Like, I'm very bad at accepting compliments. It's like someone's blown away by a picture and they're like, oh, I can't believe that. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I don't know what to say. Like, if they ask a question about it, then I'm very good. Like, if they're saying, how'd you do that, then I can go into all the details. Not like super in-depth, but give them relative ideas of how I created the picture or where I was at. Like, every picture, if I see a picture, I can tell you exactly what was going on around that time of the picture. That's why I like pictures so much, is because they capture a memory, and there's all the information that gets recalled as soon as you see the picture. But each one kind of tells a story, but unless they're asking questions, it's kind of awkward for me to just sit there as people look at all my pictures, because I mean, I have a lot of them, and to fully appreciate them, you gotta really look at them for a while, so I just kind of sit there awkwardly as people look at my pictures sometimes. But that's going to be it for the Inside the Introvert. If you're listening to these, you can see them on YouTube. It's got all my episodes on YouTube. Later this year, I'll have all the episodes on SoundCloud, but for the time being, if you want to download an episode, you can use the online video converter and download an MP3 of the YouTube, or you can just stream it through YouTube. But I know that's not the best for streaming. If you want to see nature pictures and these cool Photoshop pictures that I'm talking about, go to Flickr, SilverC_review. I also post them on Pinterest, and I've got a Twitter account that I try to post episodes and stuff, and I'll be posting pictures on there in like a month or so. So that's going to be it for this one. Take care.